You refer to how in multifamily the term is per door. This is how much the room costs per door, or the building costs per door. In hospitality, they use keys, which is even more difficult to comprehend. And I know when I first came across it, I was like, that's a lot of money per key. Like, no. Key is basically the metaphor for the entire unit and room and how much you expect to make. But there is a lot, it seems like, multifamily can learn from hospitality. By the very nature of the term hospitality, it's supposed to be about delivering a service. And it seems crazy to me that there's so much focus on delivering a service when the user base or guest base is very transient. They come in and out. Service is even more important when you live in a place and you call it your home. And you're paying a property manager, or you're paying the investor to provide the roof over your head. You can have a bad experience in a hotel, but you certainly don't want a bad experience where you live.
People remember, and that's where it becomes for property managers. I get it. We always joke sometimes that we don't compete against other PropTech firms or other FinTech firms. We compete against the boiler exploding, because the boiler explodes and everybody in the property has to go deal with the boiler, right? And they don't return our calls for a bit, because the boiler exploded. So I really have a lot of empathy for the property management side, because there's some really tough things that happen in properties, and you're always reacting to the next thing, and you don't know necessarily what's going to be coming up. But because of that reactive nature, that all the customer service things that we expect as empowered consumers everywhere aren't happening. So at the same time, while you're fixing the boiler, people don't remember that you fixed the boiler. They forget that pretty quickly. Oh, the boiler's now fixed. But they do remember when it took you 5 days to not be able to get there. They do remember. So being able to create this better customer experience and getting to know somebody does a number of things. I mean, you get better what's called resident satisfaction. They like saying resident satisfaction. I prefer to think about it as delightful. Like, I think satisfaction is like, I don't spend a lot of money on just being satisfied with the product. You try to buy products that delight you and do something amazing. I think it has to go that step further. But a lot of that can be handled digitally, right? So a lot of the other stuff you're doing as a property manager has to be physical by nature. So it's great when you're able to offer a digital product that can just take care of some of that for you as a property manager and take it off your plate, and at the same time reduce costs, right? If you can get the reduction in costs and also create that delightful experience, you've really done something special.
Walk us through the unit economics of a concession. It's there can be a lot of debate around what the concession should be, and a lot of naive investors really see concession as, it's vacant anyway, so we might as well just give a month free so we can fill it faster. But that's the wrong way to look at it, and that's something you preach a lot in the marketplace. Maybe you can walk us through that.
Right. I think that, so if you think about the retail industry for a second and what it was like 4 or 5 years ago with H&M, Gap, Uniqlo, and it moved to fast fashion, right? And it went from 4 seasons to 6 seasons to 8 seasons to now to 16 seasons, and everything's always on sale. You don't go into I never expect to go into an H&M and buy something full price. It's always going to be 20% off. And that's a similar problem you have with concessions. That when you constantly are saying, well, it's 1 week, 2 weeks free, people are like, well, that's just the price, right? Isn't that just the price? And so they don't feel like they're getting anything. It doesn't feel like you're doing anything for them. They don't have to do much to be able to get it. So it's this gap between asking and effective rent. Asking rent is the amount that you're saying, I think this should be $1,000 a month. But what you actually got was lower than that, right? And the banks know that. Your next buyers know that, and they look at that net price, not the gross price. They're going to be like, well, your effective rent was actually $900, not $1,000. So that has a lot of knockdown effects. So what we do is we say, no, the price should be the price. When I don't get to negotiate with American Airlines, I don't get to negotiate with American Express on what the cost is. For saying the cost is a cost. And then they reward me, right? And then they give me rewards for being able to help me after that to be able to keep me close. But they're keeping the price where it is. So loyalty and reward should be something where it keeps the premium and the value of the property and saying, we really provide something here, it's important. I'm not going to just knock off the price just because. I'm going to do it because you pay us every month and because you take an action as well. Now we have a two-way street. And that's how most rewards and loyalty work, right? It's that it establishes a relationship. That relationship is two-way. You do something to get something and both benefit. So I think that in current model, there's not a lot of data to say how much you should reduce, why the reduction should be there, and it has this really big economic impact on the building.
It's when you look at it from a psychological perspective, it's very easy to justify, well, everyone's offering 1 or 2 months free rent. And I guess this unit's been empty for a while, so let's just offer 1 or 2 months free rent anyway. Whereas if a tenant were here right now and you were told to put $2,000 in their pocket, that's quite uncomfortable. Wait, why would I just put $1,000 or $2,000 in their pocket? That's a lot of money just to give a tenant. People don't realize they're effectively the damn same thing.
Well, I think it's really interesting because the sort of idea of the market is saying this is what the price is goes against the basics of marketing. So but if I was an interim CMO prior to starting Stake and was put into a lot of chief marketing officer positions in Fortune 1000 companies in an interim, and if I went to the CEO and said, hey, there's nothing we can do about it, it's just what the market's doing, I would have been shown the door really quickly. The job of marketing is to differentiate your product and make it stand out and create the premium. I think in real estate, a lot of times it goes, well, and it's a lot to do with a lot of the inputs that are coming from revenue management and property management software that's saying this is what the price is. And that's certainly very useful information. You want to have data to know what the market is. But just because the market's doing something doesn't mean that's what you should do. You may have a more premium product. So what we give property managers and asset managers is data to say not what the market's doing, but what their residents are doing. So this is the difference of sort of a same-day sale in retail, or same-store sale rather, in retail versus member sales at Amazon. What is actually this person doing? And are they willing to be able to spend more? Because they love it here. Like, you should benefit if you've built an amazing product and people really love it. Who knows what the people next door are doing? They may have an awful product. And that's the reason why the prices are being brought down. So differentiation is the beginning of marketing, and differentiation is the beginning of creating something more premium. And I think that goes hand in hand. People are willing to pay for better product. In all different categories are willing to be able to pay for better product, and that's hopefully what we're able to expose. Say like, hey, you can do better here.
When it comes to differentiating, what are some of the tactics you've seen beyond renovation and general amenities? And just for the sake of listeners, yes, you can upgrade the countertops. You can have the pool. You can have a pool or have a pool functioning. So many pools don't even function properly, right? You can have a dog park, and that's a nice to have a lot of the times, or a park or whatever it is that matches the tenant's profile. But what else what else are you seeing property managers do to differentiate?
I think that the one big area that's coming in more and more is being able to offer a number of digital amenities, right? That are there, and saying, hey, here's something that you might be able to get nearby. The problem with this is that you're guessing. I don't know if I try to guess one brand versus another brand, what's going to work or not. I think that there's a lot of property managers that are moving into getting that the biggest pain point is the money, right? It's a big decision. So there's some really cool stuff out there that's doing credit reporting, which I have a lot of respect for, because it helps people saying, hey, if you pay your rent on time, we do credit reporting. I think there's some really great companies like Asusu that are doing good stuff on that, and we have a lot of respect for. I think there's some in the insurance category as well, making it easier to buy renter's insurance and stuff for deposit insurance. This is kind of the coalition around like, let's focus on what this is. This is a big financial decision, and no kind of coupon is going to help, but it's a financial decision. So we focus on the cash back to build up real savings. Cash is universal, and then where you decide to spend it is up to you. That's something that can work for anybody. I think the other area that property managers are trying, and you say you can't suddenly add a pool without huge amount of costs and this sort of thing. But I think they are getting a pretty good idea more and more about the community around the building. So I've seen some really cool things that are happening where people are starting to make bigger inroads to restaurants, cafes nearby, and this sort of thing, or retail nearby, and trying to be able to see that more as an ecosystem. And that's some positive stuff I've seen happen with property managers.
Yeah, and I think it's a new age way of thinking. It's no longer just a box with essential services that you're supposed to have because everyone wants you to have them. You're supposed to have potentially laundry facilities if you don't have in-unit laundry. Or a car park or whatever. Instead, you try to touch the tenant in their physical home, sort of the way you did with giving gifts to tenants as they come in, or putting money in their bank account when they pay their rent on time. Another company that I invested in, Amenify, gives you a digital app where you can order on-demand services. You can have someone come and walk your dog for you. You can have someone cook for you or do some chores for you, such as cleaning. These are now seen as amenities, and this is a new age, a new way of thinking, that the amenities aren't just down to the renovations They're not just down to the marketing of how you create the materials and the signage around the building and the branding and the name and how beautiful the model room looks and how the office looks. It comes down to your mobile phone and your computer and where you're spending time and touching tenants there by giving real world services.
I think it's that you have to find what really matters to the resident and use data to be able to figure that out, right? Like if you can get the data to figure out what really matters, going back to our example of like just asking and then going from there rather than assuming and then kind of just giving it to them, that's where people kind of abandon and go, you don't know me well. But if you get that right level of data and can figure out what happens, so obviously digital is the easiest way to be able to deploy. It makes it way easier to be able to get something to somebody, and it's faster and it has less cost to it. I think there's some really cool stuff though that's happening where beyond, and we talk about financial services a little bit, I've seen some folks starting to be able to bundle internet in with the home in the right way. And I found some both pros and cons with that. So I think that's amazing. So I think people are working from home and it's becoming like, well, I need more services to support what I'm doing from home, and having this separate decision seems weird. But we've also seen some residents be like, well, I'm not sure if I trust the internet coming from the landlord, and they still go around to be able to buy separately. So I think that and this is kind of the ancillary services world where like, especially in single family, a lot of thought is going into like, well, how can we add other services to help residents so they can also buy from us? But I think you have to get over that trust barrier where if they kind of go, well, this is a place that barely can fix the sink. How are they going to keep the internet going? Of course, it's two different things and they bought it wholesale to be able to put it in or what have you, but it's a trust level that you have to be able to build up. So like any brand, to be able to make that cross sell, you have to build up trust. So I've seen folks do it really well, and I've seen folks really struggle with it at the same time.
There's an interesting implication for PropTech founders when they're thinking about the distribution strategy, and often property managers are a great distribution strategy. But then comes the challenge. Do we white label this product so it's seen as if the property manager is delivering this? And in that case, if your property manager's brand is an internet brand suddenly, we're Heritage Homes and here's our internet connection, you're going to be like, okay, I'm not sure this is going to compete with like Google Fiber Optic.
Comcast does this every day and delivers it. Not to say they always do it well either, but at least that's what their brand is meant to be, right? Is that they or Verizon or what have you. And then you have Heritage Homes, who isn't known for that. So like any brand thing, it's the what is your first recall. Now, I think a lot of very big brands have done a great job of creating ecosystems where they're pulling in and selling a lot of different things because they have a great connection to residents. So I think that's what and I think about that as like ingredient brands. You don't have to be able to brand everything and put your name on it. People probably won't remember their property name over Nike or Apple. You have these big names out there people remember, but they will remember incredible experiences. So the naming doesn't matter as much as the experience. If it works and people trust you, that's going to be okay. But if they don't have the trust there and the last experience they had with you wasn't so hot, it's going to be tough to do. If signing the lease took a long time and it took 2 weeks to be able to get the lease from you, and then the move in was tricky, chances are the internet install is going to feel tricky, or it's going to be perceived as feeling tricky as well. So you kind of have to win on the basic things to be able to offer these other ones. So I think that a lot of prop tech that's coming in can help with that. But I don't think that they should worry as much about the branding. I don't think that in the end of the day, the consumers remember the brand names as much as everybody would like to think they do.